Hello everybody and welcome to another random Australian DLC build. This time we are doing one for the dingoes, so one that I've called Dingo Den, which I think I've seen other people use, but it's kind of nice, it's alliteration, all of that. So as you can see, we are doing a speed build, only the second one that I've done, and I'm doing it because I just started randomly recording when I was building it, and I thought I might as well do one, so hopefully it is good. It's on 6 times speed, so it's a little bit slower than it was previously, because I did get some comments saying it was a little bit too fast, so hopefully this will be a little bit better. We shall see once people have actually watched it. So as you can see, I did start with a base building with this. I didn't record the very beginning, and then I realised maybe I should start recording it, so we have got a kind of base there of a building, but I do change a lot, pretty much all of the inside I do change at some point, so the outside is pretty much the same. So you can see here I did do some custom signage again, similar to the Koala Heights one, copied some of the letters over and made a kind of 3D effect for the logo. It's kind of, the whole idea is that there's some on-show den at the front there where there's windows, and then there's some off-show stuff and everything in the back of the building that you kind of can't really see properly. And it's, in a way, it's kind of based on the hunting dog enclosure at Whipsnade, sort of, because it's kind of the same in that it's got a big on-show den that people can see through glass, and then it has got other dens off-show that people can't see. So it's kind of very loosely that kind of same concept. So we've got the house sort of sorted in terms of the shape and everything. The outside was a little bit more difficult. You'll see here that I do change it around quite a lot, so I do a rough shape. I wanted a yard area, so you can see that sort of square bit next to the house, and then I wanted a paddock next to that. But I did this kind of one shape here, and then realised that it might actually be a little bit too small, especially if the animals are going to be breeding and stuff, so I extended it a little bit, and then I kind of thought the same thing and then extended it again. So you'll see me multiple times actually changing this around, and even here it's not what it's going to end up as, because I do extend it a bit further around the back of the building. I also used, which I quite like, using the mural piece here as like a fence panel type piece, so I blocked off a little bit of that area near the house just to kind of make certain viewing areas for the enclosure. I also wanted to use this raised viewing area as one of the main viewing points on that side of the enclosure, so I do change the style of it and shape and layouts and stuff of it, but ultimately that is kind of what I decided on. I would have an indoor viewing in that one den of the house, I'd have a raised bit on that side, and then there'd just be kind of sporadic viewing next to the koalas. I originally was going to just do random separate builds, but once I started building this, I thought I would actually make it one kind of whole zoo, or kind of at least an area of a zoo, because it was kind of nice to theme it all together and make everything flow between different enclosures and stuff. So yeah, I've actually decided that I will continue, and I'll probably be doing an enclosure for every new animal. I know I'm a bit late to the game here because it's been out for a while, but some enclosures for every species of the Australian DLC pack. So I'll probably do the kangaroos next. I've already started the enclosure, but I probably won't do it as a speed build, I'll do it as a showcase again. So pathing always a bit of a struggle, but we get there in the end. There's a lot of chopping and changing again. So we've got some dingoes in just to kind of get a bit more of a scale. You can see there I've extended the enclosure out to the side there. And then here I am building a shelter, so I wanted an outdoor shelter as well that kind of had an undercover aspect to it, but also a kind of climbable aspect to it. So this is kind of a design. I went through a few different methods of trying to get it to work, and eventually found a way to make it work properly. So I wanted a kind of mixture of the corrugated as well as the wood. And then we will later add on some rock and stuff like that, and planting, a little bit of planting and stuff, just to tie everything in together and make it all look a little bit nicer. So yeah, in this bit, just a lot of fiddling around with making things fit. Obviously when you've got a curved piece and you're trying to make straight pieces fit into curved pieces, it doesn't work that well, so it took a little bit of trial and error here to actually make it work, but yeah, we got there in the end. So yeah, I actually did this quite a while ago. I started it probably quite soon after I finished the koala one, and then just didn't actually go onto it and finish it. So yeah, I thought I would finally actually do that and get the speed build together and finish it off and everything, so it can actually be put out as a video. So hopefully you will like what I've done with it. So I've added a roof onto it and a base onto it and put some bedding in. We had a headless dingo issue there, which doesn't seem to be an issue anymore, but I did see a few people having that same issue actually. So here I'm using the mulch. So as I said, I kind of wanted to do some planting and like just make the shelter a little bit more interesting. So I added a mulch patch to it, and then decided to kind of put rock all over the rest of it, and then the dingoes will be able to climb up there with some other rock work that I did on the side. Which took absolutely ages to make it work. Obviously hitboxes is a tricky thing to work with, and traversable areas and things can be a bit of a pain, especially if you accidentally click on a baby and think that it can climb everywhere, which it can, and then you click on an adult and it can't climb anywhere. So there was a lot of chopping and changing in this one to try and make that actually work, but I'm quite happy with the end result. I'll probably also put this shelter on the workshop. I haven't done yet because the video hadn't come out and I'd not done anything with it, but now that I'm putting this out, yeah, I probably will put this on the workshop. So if you have not already had a look at any of my workshop items, you can just search for Bongo Hardwood on the Planet Zoo Steam Workshop and you shall find my page, and I've got a fair amount of things on there now really. I've got all my mosaic pieces that I did, I've got various Whipsnade bits that I've done, we've also got some of the koala, the habitat that I did, what else, my custom fences pack, which is actually my most popular thing now, as well as my zookeeper props and tools and stuff. So I shall put a link in the description for the workshop item, or you can just search for my name. So here we are trying to make it climbable. So yeah, I kind of wanted the idea that they could climb up onto the top of the shelter as well as being underneath it, so they could either like sunbathe on it or shelter from sun or rain or anything like that. So it just took quite a long time to actually make it work with the different rocks, because it can be quite a pain to judge whether animals are going to be able to use things or not, and like I said, hitboxes can be quite tricky to work with. So eventually we will manage to get it to work, but yeah, just a lot of trial and error. So here we go, finally it's actually traversable, so that is all finished. Here is, obviously I must have put this in the wrong order actually, because that shelter wasn't there, but this is just me creating a custom fence. So I kind of wanted to make a custom fence for this enclosure. In the koala one I used a lot of just the logs, as barriers and things, but in this one I wanted a proper custom fence, so I didn't want something really fancy, but I came up with this idea of just metal rods on the sides, then the New Australian wood planks as the main kind of barrier piece, and then just using these smaller plank pieces sunken in to just put a little pattern of the white on there, and I think it looks quite nice. It's kind of not too fancy, fairly kind of rustic, but still looks, in my opinion, still looks kind of nice. Hopefully you will agree that it's not really ugly, but yeah, so that is what I created, and I use the same method as I said in my video, so just building off the wall piece and make sure everything's all lined up properly is quite useful, I find. If you haven't already seen it, I do have a custom fencing tutorial on the channel, so I will pop a little link up in the corner for that one if you would like to watch that one, because they are something that's really handy for this sort of thing. Just theming and stuff like that makes it just that little bit better. Sometimes you can't quite find exactly what you want in the in-game construction pieces. So here we've done a little bit of the planting. So I stuck with some of the same plants that I use for the koala one, but I tend to kind of get a set selection of different plants and then duplicate them throughout, and that's quite a nice way of tying different areas in together and theming and stuff. Then in this little section here I decided that I wanted to kind of make just a sort of wider path, triangle-y kind of area, and then have a tree in the middle just to break it up a little bit, which is quite a common technique really for in general, like planting. Often you'll find trees in kind of little areas like this on the sides of the street or in parks, things like that. Anywhere really, shopping centres potentially, or shopping areas. So yeah, this is my my little tree planter. And put a nice bloodwood tree in it. Desert bloodwood. Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to look, but it's really tiny on my screen at the minute. So yeah, just a little bit of grass on the bottom. These grasses are really nice to just have a little bit of vibrant kind of colour and just make things look a little bit better. So I extended the path, the tree bark path out a little bit, and then that is all that standoff on this side done. So then a bit more planting. So I wanted to kind of, I always try and use a mixture, so a few bigger trees, some kind of small trees or bigger bushes, and then some smaller plants to fill in the gaps. I often, whenever I'm planting, I don't really leave many gaps. Sometimes I will, but in general I quite like it when it's quite like dense and you don't see much soil and stuff, so that's just kind of how I normally plant things up, but each to their own. But yeah, this is the vibe I'm going for. So I didn't want this to be a massively planted area, because I did want people to be able to view the animals from this path, but I didn't want them to like congregate there like massively all the way along that, especially with the koala viewing on the other side. So I kind of wanted to break it up and just have certain little patches where people might be able to see them, but have the main viewing, the ramp bit and the other side and the den and stuff. So you'll see there I've used a mixture of, like I say, some bigger trees, some bushes, and then some gaps with smaller plants in them that people can see past. Now we move on to the terrain. So I wanted it to be kind of grassy, so I've done everything in grass. The outside I made just dirt, because a lot of animals, especially things like dogs and cats, will, well, most animals really, will use certain pathways. Obviously if there's long grass it's easier to walk on shorter grass than it is to walk through long grass, so animals will naturally make pathways and follow the most trodden path kind of thing. So I put a few little pathways across from different areas, so sort of from the yard area out, a bit around the front of the shelter outside, so just different areas where I thought they would sort of want to walk a lot straight from one place to another. I've done there, and the rest is kind of long grass and a bit of short grass. put some enrichment items in and had a little look at them using the new tug rope enrichment. It's a shame I don't think they've added it so that any other animals can use it, but hopefully they will add that at some point for some of the other animals, like the hunting dogs and things like that. And then just planting the inside and doing rock work and stuff on the inside, so similar kind of technique and plants that I've used. I really like the crimson turkey bush, that one with the little pink flowers and stuff. It's a really nice plant, it's a nice shape and sizes and stuff, really useful one. So yeah, a few bigger plants and then some bushes and some smaller ones, a lot of the grasses as well. And I just kind of did it in patches rather than like the whole thing. I didn't want it to be completely like a forest. I just wanted patches of trees and bushes and things, and then some of it a little bit more sparse, just to kind of break it up a little bit. And then I also planted around the actual shelter as well, just to blend that in a little bit more as well. Even though I'd done the top of it, I put a few grasses and bits and a tree next to it, just here to blend it into the area a little bit more rather than making it seem really sort of stand out. The dingoes definitely grew on me when we actually got the game. I wasn't too keen on the idea of having them, but I actually quite like them, and they fit nicely in here, and the babies are actually very cute, so that's always nice. So yeah, we put some rocks in, not loads. I tend to not use loads of rock work unless they're actually proper mock rock walls and things like that. But in terms of like more natural looking rocks, I try not to go overboard, so just a few little patches of it dotted about, but not tons of it. Again, just to break up the landscape a bit, add a different element in there really. And then just editing where I've planted, just to make sure the pathways and things that I've done are right, and making sure there's no grass sticking out of rocks, because that would look a little bit stupid. So yeah, just always go back and check the terrain, make sure it's all working how I want it to work. Added a few more little pathways and things in around the patches of foliage, and then just checking it out from a visitor's point of view really, making sure it all looks okay. Then here, doing some work on the pathing. So on the left there, I started to build a restaurant over there, and I'm not too keen on it, so I've cut all that out because I wasn't really sure if I liked it or not, and I'll probably do maybe a separate episode on it if I do it. But yeah, this pathing at the front here was a little bit of a challenge, making it work out, and we've ended up with a very funky little shape, as you'll see now here, a weird little kind of V shape or W shape. But I thought I would make a feature of it rather than trying to spend ages trying to get rid of it and making it properly smooth. So I thought I would do like a raised planted area in its place, so it would follow the shape of the path. And although I could have gone over the path and made it a more rounded shape, I thought, why not just have a weird shape? These are the kind of quirky little things that can make your zoo look a bit more interesting. So I'm quite liking these raised planters at the minute. I've used them a lot. If anyone's seen my African buffalo savannah aviary build that I've been doing on Twitch, then you'll know I've used a lot of these so far in that build, which I will do a showcase on at some point when it's actually finished. But it's a very big build and it takes a long time, so I will probably be carrying that on Twitch. So if you've not checked out my Twitch channel, then the link will be in the description, so check that out. I often will just do different builds on there than the stuff that I do on YouTube, so yeah, if you're interested, then you will hopefully see something different on there that's interesting to you. And then just copying the fence over, the custom fence over, and making this little bit have a standoff barrier as well. Obviously standoff's very important for things like dingoes, so I've used that same fencing over on this side. So that's kind of the vibe we're going for, the raised path down to the indoor viewing and then over towards the restaurant area. which, as I say, is not really done. It's kind of half done. Then just planting and more planting in the this standoff side. So again, I wanted people to be able to see in there, but I tried to use some bigger stuff on the ramp so that people don't congregate on the edge of the ramp. But yeah, I've pretty much stuck to just the geographic, just the continent, Oceania, foliage for the whole build. I don't think I specified any certain biomes or anything. I just went for the continent, and I didn't necessarily use everything from there, but I've used a mixture. You can see there's some that are a bit more tropical looking, these big palm things, the banana plants and things like that, and then some of the more like the grasses and the little flowers and things like that that don't look maybe as tropical. And then this is our staff area, so I wanted to put a separate staff area, entrance and little gate and everything on that side, so I copied it over from the koala one. So there I deleted, I was going to use a raised planter again, but a kind of squared off version, but I decided I don't think it would really work very well on the edge of that path, so instead I decided to do this, which I didn't really do in a very good way, to be honest. I probably would have been better off just Control X all the way around and changing the angles. Here I thought maybe I'd be clever and just sort of align them to the surface of the ramp, sorry, the path, and go all the way around, but it didn't really work out properly because some of them were at weird angles that didn't quite match, so I did it all the way around and then had to go all the way around it again and make sure everything lined up properly, which you can see it didn't. Some of them were fine, but some of them did not line up properly, so yeah, I probably would have been better off just having one Control X, going around making sure it all lined up straight away rather than doing it all once and then going back over it again. But eventually we get there. And then you'll also see here I obviously did it on the side, pushed everything in. Obviously the edges then weren't quite lined up, sort of the slopes were kind of sticking out because of the angles of just pushing the whole thing inwards. It didn't really work, so I had to then edit those bits too. So yeah, I just went for this retaining wall sort of vibe. And I will change the colour as well to match the path sort of colour, this kind of curvy colour as well, a weird yellowishy brown sort of thing. I always try and match stuff when I can, but I never go OTT with making sure it's exact, but I do try and roughly match the colour. So, doing a bit more realism stuff, the guttering. So I did do this on the koala habitat as well. I wanted to do the guttering, and it really does add a little extra something to it. It does give it that extra realistic feel. This was a fairly simple one because it was basically a rectangle for the house, and it's all slanting down just from one side to the other, so it was literally, as you can see here, just one single line all the way along and then just one bit of downpipe there to complete it, and that was kind of it really. But yeah, it definitely adds a little extra element to your build and your realism. And then here I wanted to just put a little something in the middle between the wood at the top and the corrugated pieces at the bottom, just to make it look like there was some sort of proper join there. So I don't know what that would be, but I feel like it at least makes it look like it's not just two things coming together and meeting, and it just kind of blends the two in together a bit better. So that is what we did there, and then changing the path a little bit there to make it the same as the tree bark path. So I planted a lot all the way around here, which you'll see at the end. I just did a lot of filler areas all the way around. Again, a few trees, not tons of them, but I wanted a few of those kind of palmy trees there. And then the stringy wood, I think it's called. They're really like nice chunky ones. I used a couple of them in here too. And then again, fairly kind of dense planting, but not like really intensely dense. Sounds strange, but yeah, just a mixture of different things. So you can see the restaurant in the back, but it may change, it may not look anything like that once I actually get round to looking at it again. But I wanted to call it Dingo Diner. That's kind of the idea, that I wanted to call it Dingo Diner, but it looks nothing like a diner, and yeah, I'm not really that happy with it. But I'm sure everyone goes through that sort of stage where you build something and you almost finish it and you decide that you really don't really like it that much. So you'd rather redo it rather than leave it. So yeah, just filling in a little bit more of the plants. And then just changing the edge there. I use the grass just to fill in the gaps as well, because as I said, I don't really like bare sand and dirt and stuff like that. Then we continue the log vibe just on this side, so again just trying to blend in the two different types a little bit better. So having both types of fence right next to each other, and they do kind of blend because the lighter bit in the custom fence matches the logs a little bit. So yeah, just extended that down a little bit, and then that side will be the kangaroo habitat underneath all this effectively. So moving on to the inside, so this took a long time. As I said, I had a very rough idea of it all, and then I changed it a lot, almost completely. So originally I had a keeper hut in there, and I decided I don't really like it. I don't like using the keeper huts because they're very tall, so and they're so boxed in. Which obviously they're really nicely designed, and they've got a lot of things that we do have in our keeper areas in the zoo. But yeah, I hate the fact that they're so tall. That's my main issue with them, really. 4 meters is incredibly tall. This building, for example, I think maybe it's 3 meters on the right hand side, on the shortest side possibly, but obviously with the pitch as well of the roof, it's hard. I couldn't put a 4 meter building on the other side, a 4 meter sort of staff building on the other side of that, on the shorter side. It would have to go on the other side. So I decided to get rid of it completely and just make my own little keeper area, implied. And then I wanted to make these smaller dens, because originally I just had the one den at the front, and that's not really realistic. There would be other areas where you could separate animals or hold animals. Like you don't want to shut animals in, you only have one area for them. It's not very practical, so I decided to use the space all along the back here. So I would have 3 different dens. I'd have the one big one and then 2 half-sized ones, and then off each of those dens would lead out into a yard that is all the same size yards. So 3 different yards there. So that was my revised internal plan, and I raised all the mesh up to the roof just because I kind of liked the aesthetic of it, really, and then concrete floors everywhere. But I left some bedding in the on-show stall, and then in the off-show stalls we do something a little bit different, which you'll see. So here, just making some custom drains, and this actually turned out quite well. I was quite happy with it. So I've used this before, the air conditioner unit, as a drain, because it's got that kind of circular but patterned circular thing that almost looks like a drain cover on it. So I used that previously in the White Rhino build that I did, But then I just thought I would put a black circle underneath it to just kind of hint that obviously there's a hole there rather than just a lot of circles. So yeah, I think they actually turned out really well. They look quite good, I think. So yeah, there are little drains, and then I wanted to make some little benches or that sort of thing, little raised platforms, not like super raised, but just a bit off the ground. So I thought I'd use the pallets because they're quite a nice new piece. They're nice wood, sort of fairly chunky, but kind of realistic maybe in a way if they're fairly cheap to make. So just a couple of little steps. One lower one higher one. This one I did change in the end because I realised I put it all the way along the back wall there, and then there would be nowhere for me to put a slide to the yard. There'd be no yard access because the benches are all in the way, so I changed the layout of this middle den slightly, but the other one stays as it is because I could put a door on that wall at the back. So just putting some supports for the benches, the idea being that the back of it is fixed to the wall somehow, and then the front just needs these wooden supports. Again, similar colour, not perfect, but similar. I did make these custom gates as well, or doors, because I don't really like using the in-game ones in the middle of mesh fences, so I just kind of imply a door there using a frame. And then I did think about changing this end one, but for this one, because I wanted to use all of this space there as a keeper area, I thought it would give, if there was a solid wall, it would give a bit more space to actually store stuff against it or on it or whatever. So I put a proper door on that side to the other den, but it's got a window on it, so in theory they can still look in if they need to through that doorway. And then I added some supports for the mesh, so I wanted a bottom and sides and tops and things like that just to effectively secure the mesh into, so screwed into the floor and that sort of thing. Next, a little bit of lighting. So I'm using these lights here as heaters, effectively, or implied heaters. So they're just kind of normal ones, but I turned the colour to be red. And then using just the fluorescent strip light sort of things in all the dens and keeper area and stuff. So here you can kind of see it at night. We'll get a proper look at everything at the end when I go through it all properly. But that is kind of the idea. And then using what we use for the cheetahs in my Whipsnade recreation, using these windows as implied slides, like guillotine type slides, so ones that have a panel that you pull something and it raises up. So those slides in between all the different dens, and then also in between the dens and the yards, which is again why I had to change this one. This is probably me realising that I have made a mistake and not put that there. And then a little frame around this doorway. This doorway is extra large because I did want the animals in the enclosure to actually be able to use the enclosure, so I had to make it extra big. So that is it for everything that I did speed build wise. There's a few little elements that I have done off camera as well, so things like the keeper area that I said about, and maybe a couple of other little bits touching up around the edges, and a little bit of planting around the backstage area and stuff like that. But I will now go into a live bit where we can just have a proper look around everything properly and just take it all in without it whizzing along in front of your eyes. So yeah, we will hop into a live bit just to have a proper look around, and then I'll pop some cinematics at the end as well so you can see it properly. Okay guys, here we go. So everything is finished, I think. There might be the odd little thing that I might need to add or change at a later date, but this is pretty much what we've got. So this is our Dingo Den habitat. So as you can see, this is the overview. You might end up getting a little sneak peek of the kangaroo stuff because I have done that, and that is just behind here. But I'll try not to show too much of it because I don't want to ruin it. Well, it's amazing at the minute, but still we want to focus on the dingoes. So as you've seen in the speed build, this is the whole area. So we've got the main paddock that comes around here, we've got the yards and house there, this is the koala habitat over here. So we've got a path that leads round, we've got the raised viewing path here that comes down, indoor viewing here, and then just some planting and stuff around here, and then that is all kind of off-show, backstage area kind of thing. So we'll have a quick look at each bit in a bit more detail. So if we start with the house, so down here we've got the actual Dingo Den, so the main den that you can see from the public's perspective. So, and the dingoes can actually use this, as I said, so I've made that gap big enough for them to actually use it, even though it's a bit annoying because it has to be quite wide. So yeah, the dingoes can access this. If we hop inside, so yeah, this is the main den. All our lighting and stuff in there, our fake doorway. We've got our slides and things. So we come back out, come round through the staff gate, and in here, this is our staff area. So I've used my tools, my keeper tools, put them around, a little bin in there as well. And then on that side we've got a little fridge, a workbench sort of thing, and just a little bit of shelving. I've not really put anything on it, obviously, but I may try and put stuff on there. But it's just to kind of imply that this is the keeper's area here. And then we've got, so yeah, our main den in there, and then we've got our two smaller dens. One there, and then one through here. So yeah, not massive, but just somewhere that the dingoes can go and can rest if they wanted to on these little platforms, and just somewhere you can manage these animals, move them around, separate them if you need to separate them. So yeah, that is our indoor area. If we come out, we'll come round here, so all this planted and stuff. So we've got that viewing area there, and then this is our, obviously our main viewing. We'll zoom out, I'm not in Tegid Cam. So this is our main viewing platform here. So is that kangaroo? I thought it was trying to escape. So yeah, this is our main one. So obviously from up here you can get a little bit of a better view here. And we've got our enrichment piece there just to draw people's attention and everything. You get a fairly decent view of the enclosure. Obviously it goes back a fair distance, but if they come down here, you've got a great little view from up here. If we follow the path down, so yeah, we've got a little tree in the middle. This is our other viewing area down the side here. So yeah, you can see, as I said, there's patches where you can't really see anything. We've got trees and bushes in the way, but then other more open patches you can maybe spy them if you look carefully. And then this is the other patch. Even though they're all looking at the dingoes there, obviously you can't actually see them properly there. Which may be something that I'll edit as we go on, so that people can maybe see that a little bit better, possibly. But for now, this is what we've got. If I zoom out just a little bit more, we'll have a bit of a better view of everything from a little bit higher. So yeah, this is where the walkway from the koalas comes down. We've got this patch here, and then that comes around down to here. You can see our patches of rocks and trees and things, bushes, as well as more open areas. We've got loads of dingoes in here now, they've bred quite a lot. And we've got our little shelter out the back here. They're using it, which is nice, although they're all sleeping in the same direction. They look a bit like copies. That's a bit strange. Are they all going to get up at the same time? Brilliant. So yeah, that is our shelter. And then we've got this other little patch over here. So a fairly decent size now. We've got a lot of them in there. I need to thin them out a little bit, I think, send a few off. But that is what we've got in terms of the paddock. I'm quite happy with it. So out the back here we've got these yards. So I decided to cover them over with these big opaque glass pieces. They look kind of like they could just be plastic. So we've covered all the yards over. And then these are the actual yards themselves. So this one, obviously, again, extra big, so that the dingoes can actually go in and out of here. Not that I've seen them in there at all, actually, yet. But that is what we've got on this side. And obviously a bit of natural light through there. In terms of the off-show, that is obviously the entrance to the habitat here. And then we've just got a path down the side of the building with an entrance into the yard. And we've got doors in between all these yards as well, in case you want to come through there. And doors between, interconnecting all of these different bits, houses and yards and paddock and yards and yeah, all combinations. So this is our back off-show area, through the fence there. Nice big tree there. And then I've just planted up little bits. So a little patch here, and then we've done just the bit around this enclosure as well. Not loads of planting, but just some planting around the edges here. And then that loops around to where these guys are. So my plan is to have this bit as probably the cassowary enclosure. I'm probably going to have two. The sizes I might change because these are quite big. But yeah, that's kind of my idea. Maybe have like a male one and a female one. That could be connected, and then obviously over at the back there, that's going to be the kangaroos, and we've got the skink in there and the koala in there. So yeah, that'll be all of them, won't it? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that'll be all of them. So yes, this is our Dingo Den. Hopefully you have enjoyed seeing a little bit more of the process again. Let me know what you think in the comments if you enjoy the speed builds, if there's anything I could do a little bit differently that would be better. Hopefully the speed was a little bit better and a bit easier to follow, but yeah, I think it probably varies from person to person. Some people like seeing it slower, some people like it a little bit faster and just move through it a bit quicker. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I have also got a Discord if you haven't already seen, so you can also put some comments in there or any suggestions, things you'd like to see. If there's certain builds you'd like me to try doing, then yeah, leave them in comments or join the Discord. It'd be nice to have more people in there always, as part of the little community that we are starting to try and make. And you can also vote on certain videos and things that I will be doing as well, in terms of Planet Zookeeper and stuff like that. So yeah, if you would like to join that, the link will be in the description. Also follow me on Twitch if you're interested in live streams. As I said, I do try and do different builds on Twitch to stuff that I do on YouTube, or I will at least maybe show more of the building process on Twitch and then just do a showcase video on YouTube. So if you're interested in seeing me actually live streaming building and stuff, then yeah, follow me on Twitch. That would be very much appreciated. So yeah, if you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I've got lots more things planned, multiple sort of series and builds and things on the go. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff still to come from Planet Zoo from me, hopefully. Yeah, so thank you very much for watching. I will leave you with some cinematic shots of the enclosure, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.